What did China know and when did it know it? A new report shows the coronavirus outbreak could have been contained by 95% if the communist regime acted sooner. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo pushing for answers, saying if we do not figure out where China went wrong, we could face another crippling pandemic in the future. And President Trump addressed the cover-up earlier.
Well, it would have been much better if we had known about this a number of months earlier. It could have been contained to that one area in China where it started. And certainly the world is paying a big price for what they did.
Jesse?
Well, the first case of coronavirus surfaced in mid-November. That's 4 months ago. And when the scientists identified the virus, the Chinese government told them to destroy the samples, and they gagged the scientists and told them to lie about it. Then they allowed these wet markets where the contamination started to remain open. They told the WHO, World Health Organization, that it was not contagious human to human. They allowed the New Year's celebration in Wuhan, 11 million people, to go on. Everybody drinking and eating and having a great time together. And that was a colossal mistake. Then they allowed thousands of Chinese citizens to fly all over the country. The Chinese government dragged its feet in releasing data to the rest of the world on this. And when the Trump administration offered to send U.S. scientists to Wuhan to investigate and help, they said, no, you're not allowed. So now when they say, oh, the U.S. military, they were the ones that planted the virus in Wuhan, and they say we're going to withhold drugs from the United States during the pandemic, that's just crazy. And the fact that the president calls it the Chinese virus, he just wants to make sure that there's a little accountability and truth to what happened.
Juan?
Jesse, I think you're misreading the room. It's supposed to be a happy show today.
I'm talking about the Chinese government, Juan,
I see.
covering things up. You seem to want to blame the president instead of the Chinese communist government, and that's where you're wrong.
I know who I elected, okay? So here's the thing.
Yeah, you elected President Trump.
Yeah, that's right. That's my president.
Yeah,
that's why I speak about him. But I will say this.
Not the Chinese communists.
We have time. We're going to have time for after-action reports. I think it's inevitable we're going to have a 9/11 commission-style review of what happened. So we will be able to know exactly what happened and where this came from. I think it's so important. But I want to underline something that you said, which is something actually Senator Rubio and others have said, which is that we are so reliant on the Chinese. Right now, we have, I believe it's Governor Cuomo of New York over in China, trying to look at them in terms of whether or not they have ventilators that they can sell us to help our hospitals. We are reliant on them in terms of our prescription drugs, delivered in large part from China. And so when they get vengeful or angry or whatever, you know, we have to somehow step in and say, you know what? This is too much. We can come back and make some of these things in the United States.
Right.
Now, I understand it's going to be a higher cost.
Well,
I agree, Juan. I agree.
And that's actually what President Trump's tried to do over the last 3 years, is extricate ourselves from our reliance on China as a manufacturing hub. But, Greg, what do you say?
As a member of the media, I am absolutely disgusted how we're saying these negative things about China. I mean, I just can't believe. I mean, really, that's racist. This entire segment is racist because we're pointing out the disease, the disease's origins, and we should be ashamed of ourselves with dealing in facts. That's awful. My suggestion, I actually agree with Juan. We need to turn our focus away from blaming people and make a list of the people who need to pay. And 6 months from now, we go back and we look at the list. Because right now, I want to get people well. I want to find the treatments and do all the good stuff. And you know what? Screw the Chinese government. We'll deal with them later.
But, Dana, I'll point out that China, Jesse was mentioning it, is waging a disinformation campaign on social media platforms that are created in the U.S. that their own citizens don't see, but we certainly do.
That's why I actually think we have to fight that part now. The after-action report on our actions and things, yeah, we can save that for later. But I would not rest on these propaganda pieces. We should try to get as much information there as possible. Authoritarian regimes That's how this kind of thing happens. You had journalists there that were Chinese journalists, that were trying to raise the alarm. They're the ones that were put in jail. They're the ones who were rounded up. They're the ones who are now trying to use emojis and Morse code in order to get around the censors because they're worried about it. I think we need a lot more of a push of social media into that country. We've got to talk to the younger people of China because the propaganda war, that is a serious one. And the only way to really deal with it is to have a lot of truth. And if we don't hold China accountable for this now, you know it's going to happen again. And it could be worse next time.